So, I posted a status on Facebook a few weeks ago, maybe a week and a half really, about a few dates in my life over the last few years that have been really significant. And I said that I would post testimonial videos to explain these dates. I'm going to start with the first one in the status, which was April 27th, 2017, also known as the last day I wanted to be alive, or so I thought. So, background story to catch you up to that day. I've struggled with depression, I've struggled with anxiety, and I've got help before. I was on medicine, I've talked to people, I've vented to people, all of the above. Everything the TV says, everything the doctors say, everything you think the Lord is saying, the whole shebang. But this particular day, I guess, just hit me harder than the rest. Earlier in the week, me, I had been at work. I had been falsely accused of something, but it was something so tragic and so dramatic. And I was like, God, you've already hit me with so many different things, from parents being divorced, which that happened at a young age, and I'm not blaming anything on them, from moving around some, from friends betraying me, just like the whole shebang, everything just kind of unexpected in a way. So why are you going to hit me with this? Some pretty tragic stuff happened back in college, so I'm like, come on, God, no. And I was like, well, maybe God's telling me that it's actually time. But He wants me to be the one to do it, because He wants me to say, I can't do this life on my own. Which, we can't do our lives on our own. But, I had it a little messed up. I decided it was, since I can't live this life the way I want to live this life, and I can't live this life successfully, that the only way I could live this life would be with God. So, I would have to go be with Him. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I got up, got dressed, got ready for work. I wasn't the happiest camper at work, but I tried to make the most of it. People at work probably to this day have no idea, which I no longer work there. Some of the most godly people I've ever met in my life truly believe the only reason I worked there for a year was so I would learn how to interact with fellow Christians in the outside world of the church, because I grew up in the church. I'd been a youth pastor. I'd helped lead mission trips. I'd helped with different events. I went to a Christian school, so I knew how to interact with Christians in the church setting, if that makes sense. So I got up. I got ready for work. I went to work, just like a normal adult does. The worst part about being an adult is having to get up early to go to work. And the bills. Bills might be worse than having to get up early and go to work. So I get up, I go to work, I talk to my dad on the way to work. He lets me know that the Vincents are coming down, which are some awesome family friends and some awesome people of God. And I'm like, I'm just not feeling it today. It's just been a rough week. They know what's happened. They know it's been a really hard week on me, because Wednesday my life kind of changed, and this was Friday, and I was just like, I don't know. So I went home from work, and they thought I was just going to take a nap, and I thought I was just going to take a nap, and I decided I was going to take, I'd had surgery in the past on my lower back on some stuff, and I still had a few pain pills, so I thought I'd take a few pain pills, and I thought I'd just walk until I fell asleep on the train tracks, so that I'd be asleep when the train hit me. I'd have earphones in so I wouldn't hear it blowing the horn. And I'd be asleep when the train hit me. And I wouldn't feel anything. And it was the perfect plan. So I thought. And I'm walking on the railroad tracks from where I was living at the time. And I end up standing behind my dad's house. I take my earphones out and I hear them just having the best time ever. And I'm like, how can people have this much fun when they know their family members have been accused of something that could literally change their life? And it didn't make sense to me until I got back, which that's skipping, so I'm going to keep on walking through the story. So I start just bawling my eyes out listening to like any and everything I can listen to. And I find myself getting sleepy. So I lay down on the tracks. Knees propped on one rail, neck propped on another rail. And I know I'm asleep because I remember dreaming like a perfect life. Because, that's what Satan does in these situations. But at the time, I thought it was Christ. And I was probably on the railroad tracks for 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours. It was rough. I wasn't rough, I was asleep. But I woke up and I remember I was so mad. Because not only was I not successful at life, I couldn't keep a steady job, even though I didn't realize God had me exactly where He wanted me. I was a terrible son, or so I thought. And I just couldn't do anything. I grew up in a different state, so now I'm down here with my family, so people probably think I'm just trying to be that freeloader or whatever it's called, and I get so upset and I get so angry and I get so mad at the fact that I can't even kill myself. Like, biggest loser on the world, and I'm not the skinniest person, so the first part of that, the first word actually kind of fits my life, biggest, and I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I'm literally the biggest loser on the planet because I can't even successfully kill myself. And I'm mad because the train, you can almost time the train almost perfectly, and sometimes you don't sleep good at night because you don't hear the train go by because it's just like become part of your everyday routine. And I'm like, where's the train? So now not only am I mad at myself because I couldn't kill myself, I'm mad at God, and now I'm mad at the train driver. I don't know what you call him, a conductor or something. I'm like, this guy needs to get his act together. So I just start walking home, and I'm just like, I'm just going to have to figure out a way to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to have to figure out a better way to do this because I can't be here anymore. So I get to the train track in front of where my little house is. And I pull it together because I know if my family realizes I'm at home or if they decide to stop by, which they did, I'm going to get to that. I got to be together. When I get to that door to go into the house, the train went by. I'm sorry my camera is shaking. I don't have a professional video camera. I'm using my phone in my hand and I'm kind of shaking right now because this is emotional stuff and it's kind of touchy to talk about. But in that moment that the train went by, in that moment, God said, "Who do you think you are? That you could be in charge of when people come to this world and when people leave this world. To think that I couldn't help you through these situations because you had a version of me in the back of your head. I'm too big for the back of your head. I deserve your whole body. I deserve your whole being, your whole essence because I am God. Drew, you're not God. Who do you think you are?" So I cried. Those who know me know I'm an emotional person, and I boo-hooed and I got it together, and then my dad called. And I was like, well, God, you think you're funny? Going through one of literally the worst weeks of my life, and you're just going to send old Happy Daryl over here to make some kind of joke, and I'm going to hate it, but it's going to be funny, so I've got to laugh. And if I don't laugh, then he's going to know something. So even if it's like something I don't want to laugh at, I got to laugh, because that's what you do when you wear a mask. You laugh. And he said, Drew, I really want you to come over and see the Vincents before they leave. I brought you a hamburger and some hot dogs. I didn't eat no buns because I was starving, because I've been laying on the track forever trying to die. And I jokingly talk about it now because it's such a big part of my testimony. So I'm literally like, well, let me go say hey, because I don't want to be the bad person, but at the same time, like, I don't even want to be here. I'm not supposed to be here right now, so I'm only here because God literally just told me he's in charge of who comes to this earth and when they leave this earth and how they get to this earth and how they leave this earth. He's in charge of everything, even though I already knew these things. And so I go talk to the Vincents. And I agree to go see them the next weekend. So I mosey through my week. This is what it looks like when you mosey. I think. I don't know. I ain't never really did it. Big people don't mosey. We roll. Hey. But I went up to see the Vincents. Literally was the most refreshing and reviving and refilling of the Spirit I think I've ever witnessed, up until I went to the DWI conference in Orlando a few months ago now. But I hadn't sang in a couple of weeks. I had the ability to sing with one of my best friends of all time, Matthew Vinson. And there was just an odd feeling that Sunday morning, but I just thought the Lord was Satan was trying to attack me, because the Lord had literally, he didn't just let me fall and crumble to a pile of rocks. He let me fall and crumble and weather, not from just a building to rocks to rubble, but all the way down to the dust that he used to make Adam, to bring me back. And Satan wasn't going to have that. So Satan's trying to give me all these weird feelings and tell me this and that. And I'm like, no, God's got this. God's in control. God's doing everything God can do. That Sunday on the afternoon drive home, my grandmother called. I said, I'd be praying for Papa. My aunt called. I said, okay, just give me some updates. I get to church to teach my youth that night. My stepmom calls. And my papa had passed away. Who for years was one of the best things about coming to Alabama. And he's gone. Poof. And God tells me, which is why it hit kind of hard, and it still hits hard to this day. He said, if you'd have left, you wouldn't have got to say goodbye. He said, if you would have played God instead of letting me be the God that I am, you wouldn't have got to say goodbye. He said, and if you wouldn't have went to the Vincents to be spiritually filled, to where you're overflowing in this moment, you wouldn't be able to be the person you need to be for your family right now. And see, that's why April 27th is such a powerful and important day in my life. Because not only was it the day that I realized I can't play God, but it was the day that I realized that even when you've been knocked down, tore down, burnt down, pulled down, destroyed, put through the wood chipper, ground into nothing but dust, and you feel like you're literally less important than a piece of sand, God's still got plans for you that are so big, that are so wide, that are so magnificent. All we have to do It's belief. James 4:8 tells us to draw near to Christ and he draws near to us. Sometimes God doesn't show up in the form of a friend. God doesn't show up in the form of a scripture or a song or a dream. Sometimes God shows up, but what he's giving you isn't what you think God would give you. It isn't this huge blessing, this huge praise report, this huge miracle. It might be a test. And the only way to pass that test is to give it to God. To let God guide your steps. To put yourself in a garden where you drowned yourself in Scripture. I really want to jump in to the next point on that status, which was April 27th, 2018. But that unfortunately will have to wait. This video doesn't really do much but explain what God did on that day. It doesn't explain everything about that day, but I challenge you to look for the blessings in every little detail, because you never know what God has down the road. And if you're empty, you won't be able to see him move through the situation.